Hi everybody, my name is Angie. Welcome to my channel. So today I am going to show you how I make 3 Minky scarves. I can get 3 Minky scarves out of 1 yard of Minky. It's a super quick sew. I love making these. They're great for gifts at Christmas time. So all you need is 1 yard of Minky and, typical sewing necessities. But that is all you're going to need. So let's go ahead and get started. Alright, so I have my little helper over here. This is Penny. She likes to observe when I'm sewing. Alright, so here I love this Minky. I got this from fabric.com. It's so pretty and it's so fluffy, soft. It'll make an awesome scarf. So I just flipped it so that I have the 1 yard this way. And then it is folded in half with the fabric here. So I have both of the selvage edges here. And I just went ahead and folded it in half so that I have a nice even fold on this side over here. We'll straighten out this edge later. But for now, we're just going to focus on this part. Okay, and then the width that you cut this is going to depend on how generous of a yard you received. So sometimes they give you 40 inches, 39 inches. Sometimes it's actually 36. So we just take however much we have. We'll trim up the sides so that we have a nice straight edge along the sides. And then whatever you have here, we'll just divide that by 3. It usually ends up being between 12 and 13 inches a piece. But I'll go ahead and measure what I have here and we'll decide how wide to cut them. Okay, so I am just going to go ahead and use my Sharpie to mark on it. It's going to be on the back side of the fabric, and even if it does seep through, which it shouldn't, it will be on or in the seam allowance, so nobody's going to see it anyways. So I'm just going to use my my ruler here, my straight edge, to make a straight line here so that we can trim up this side and make, oh, if I could write a straight line with my straight edge, that'd be great. So one there, and then one over here. We'll just make sure that we hit the whole thing. Okay, and then I'm just going to go ahead and measure from the one line to the next. So I'm about 41 inches from line to line. So we'll go ahead and just divide that by 3. That's like a little over 13 inches a piece. We'll just cut each of them to 13 inches. One of the pieces will probably be 14, but that's okay. So we'll just cut each piece to 13 inches. Keep in mind that Minky sheds a lot, so wherever you are doing this, you are going to make a mess. Just keep that in mind. If you have a nice big cutting table, you can obviously do this there. I do not. Mine isn't quite big enough for that, so I kind of have to just sprawl out on the floor for bigger stuff like this. as careful as possible to not make a mess, but that's kind of impossible with Minky. Okay. And then from the edge here, I'm just going to go ahead and draw that 13-inch mark. I'll just make a few tick marks along the way. And then another 13 inches from that line. Yeah, and then this last one ends up being about 14 inches. That's fine. And then cut each of those strips again. Okay, and you know what, while I'm down here, I might as well continue with my mess, and I'll just line up one of the inch tick marks on here to get a straight edge here. Just make sure that I'm cutting a straight line, and I'm going to go ahead and draw a line here, making sure that I am above the selvages. That way I can cut off the selvages. We'll just do that on all 3 pieces. I am in dire need of either new scissors or sharpening my scissors. Let me know in the comments below which you prefer doing. Do you get your scissors sharpened, or do you just buy new scissors when you start, or when your scissors start getting dull? I'm curious what other people do. I've tried sharpening these myself, but it didn't work out so well, so either have to find a place to do it or just replace my scissors. Okay. Now here's the fun part. We're about to make a mess. We're going to take all of these and shake it all out. Gonna be inhaling Minky for a week. I warned you, this made a mess. All over my face. And this Minky might be the most shedding one that I have had. Oh, it's everywhere. Okay. Okay, clean up as best as you can. I'm probably just gonna have to vacuum when I'm done with this. If you have, I have read before, I've never tried it. Usually the Minky that I work with is very low loft, more like a velvet feel. This stuff is kind of true Minky that just sheds everywhere. I have read that you can take the back of the Minky and cut it with like a straight edge. If you have a really sharp knife, like a box cutter or something like that, and then don't cut through the like all the fluff and everything, just cut it from the back and then peel it open, and it's supposed to shed less. If that works for you, awesome, let me know. That probably would have been a good tip to use on this particular type of Minky. Okay, got up as much as I could, still floating around in the air, but it's as best as I could. So now we're gonna go ahead and head to the sewing machine and clip these all together. All right, so now we're gonna go ahead and pin this together. I'm just gonna show you on one piece. The other two pieces will be the same steps. But we're gonna take the piece of fabric, and we're gonna stretch it out so that it is selvage the long way across, short way this way, and then we're going to fold it up the short way. Just get a bunch of pins out. Minky has a tendency to slip and slide around, so you want to pin a little extra. But we're just going to go ahead and pin it the whole way across. Some Minky has a tendency to stretch also. A lot of it is stretchy, so you don't want to stretch it while you're pinning, because otherwise it'll kind of not match, the ends won't match up right, and it just kind of gets a little wonky. So when we get down to the end, and I just want to make sure that we have it all lined up, that the two ends meet. So I'm just going to clip that in place, that way I don't mess anything up for this last little bit. Okay, and then we're going to go ahead and actually I'm going to change out and use my walking foot. Walking foot is not needed on this. Actually, you know what? I'm not gonna. I'll just leave it. See how it goes. I'll be the guinea pig. I'll test it out for you. Let you know how it goes without a walking foot, if I regret this. All right, and then we're just gonna go ahead, and you can use whatever seam allowance you want. I usually do like 3/8 of an inch because that's just an easy line that I have on my machine. So I usually do around there. Sometimes if I have like a 12-inch piece, like if they gave me like just a yard exactly, and I want to make this as wide as possible, then I'll try and go a little bit smaller. But then sometimes I struggle with missing the edge of the fabric, so do whatever you want. I'm gonna use a 3/8 of an inch seam allowance. And this is pretty fluffy, so I'm going to use like a stitch length of like 3.5 or 4, somewhere in there. Usually with Minky, I do a little bit of a longer stitch length like that, so I think I'm going to leave it at 3.5 and see how it goes. And then just back stitch there at the beginning, and then we'll just kind of sew along. Try not to pull the fabric too much, just kind of let it glide through. Sometimes, like I said, it shifts and I pulled my clips off too soon, so then it kind of shifts a little bit. So. found with Minky, when it starts shifting around, like this did used to meet up, and now, I don't know if you can see that, but it's kind of not meeting up anymore. It's kind of difficult to pull this over without also pulling the bottom fabric, so I kind of just scrape underneath with my nails, and that kind of gets it to line up again. And sometimes I just shift my clips down as I go. Just little tips that I have picked up sewing with Minky over the years. And then back stitch. All right, and then you just want to go through. I personally like to do this. If you're confident in your sewing abilities of catching everything, awesome. I'm not always, so I like to go back through and just make sure that I caught both sides the whole way down. And then what you're going to do, so you have this big tube now with the right side facing out. And we're going to go ahead and go through the opening, stick our hand through, just go all the way down to the end, grab it, and turn it right side out. All right. So now you have this big, I love this, you got this big tube here with the right side facing out now. So now you're going to go ahead and find the two ends, the two side seams on either end, and make sure that it's going all the way across with the side seam. And then we're going to go ahead and take this edge, because you can see it. We'll take this edge and we're going to flip it once, so the side seam's over here, flip it again, so the side seam's over here, and now flip it again. And then we'll take the other side and match the two together, so that now I have one seam on this side and one seam on this side. And you can go ahead and pin or clip these together. I skipped that step on this. I just like to go ahead and we're just going to sew around here. If you've ever sewed a scrunchie before, it's kind of the same thing, but we're going to go ahead and just sew the edges together. So I like to start right before one of the seams. So I'll just, So we'll go ahead, I'm using my fingers to hold this part out of the way so that I'm not sewing over that. So I'm just trying to get these two seams here. Again, make sure it's out of the way. And again, this seam allowance does not matter at all, just whatever you feel like doing. I'm using 3/8 inch, 1/2 inch, somewhere in there. We're just gonna make sure that the seams all match up, and then back stitch at the beginning. And I like to back stitch over that side seam too. I don't know, just in case. And we're just gonna kind of make our way around as far as you can go with this under your presser foot, just consistently making sure that this fabric underneath is pulled out of the way so you're not sewing over it, and same with the top. So you're only getting these two pieces. When it comes to the side seams, when you're folding or sewing over that, you can push it to one side. I like to butterfly it open, just, you know, a little less bulky, but whatever you want to do. And I can feel that I'm coming up to one of those seams again, so I'm just going to back stitch. I'll catch it, I guess. And then it's kind of getting tight in here, so I'm just kind of going until I feel like I can't sew the two pieces together anymore without it folding on top of itself. So I'm kind of at that point. So I'll just go ahead and back stitch to lock those stitches, cut my thread, and now you have it encased there, except for this little opening right here. That will go ahead and I just stick my fingers in the sides of it like that, and it kind of helps fold in that raw edge. I'll get a couple of clips, and you can go ahead and do like a blind stitch, whatever it's called, if you want. If you don't want the stitches to show, I don't mind it. I don't think it's any big deal that the stitches show here, so I'm going to go ahead and just sew that using my machine. So I'm just folding it in so that the raw edge of the fabric is encased in there. Pin that together, and then we'll go ahead and just use our sewing machine to sew that closed. This can get hard to see where the opening is. Okay, there-ish. And you want to do like 1/8 of an inch or as close to the edge as you can, making sure that you can catch both of those sides. It's very difficult to tell if I am catching everything with this Minky, but if I didn't, we'll do it again. Okay, so then I'm just going to go ahead and give it a little tug, see if anything's coming apart. Very difficult to tell on this. Trim my thread. Usually I have another thread to trim from where my machine cut the thread, but this is so fluffy, it blends right in and I can't even find it. All right, so then there's a few spots here where the Minky kind of got stuck inside the seam, so you can go through and kind of fluff that out, and it just helps hide that seam a little bit. You can take a pin if you really want to. I've done that before. Or you take a pin and just kind of stick it in there, and it helps fluff it out a little bit. Just don't pop any stitches while you're doing that. Just try and get the fluff. Just a little extra something that you can do to hide that seam again. For the impatient me, sometimes I just take the edge of the needle and just kind of scrape it along here, and that kind of pulls the fabric out too. Sometimes I just don't have the patience to sit there and pick at it, but I still want it to look nice. It works, whatever. All right, so there is the seam where we sewed it, and you can't even really tell. It's a little bit fluffy right there, but that's fine. Whatever, it's fine. All right, so then, tuck down a little bit. So then the seam, I like to put that on my neck because then it's hidden even more. So you can wear it as a nice long one like this, or wrap it around. Do it twice. Ah, this one's so cute. All right, let me adjust this a little bit. Don't mind the mess behind me. But there we go. So that is the Infinity Minky Scarf. So then we just do the same thing to the other two pieces, and you have 3 infinity Minky scarves out of 1 yard of fabric. When you really get going and you've done this a few times, I can knock one of these out in about 15 minutes or so. So they're super quick. I love making these. They make great Christmas presents. If you go ahead and try this, let me know. I like to see how it goes for you. All right, that is it for now. Thanks, bye. Such a lazy little assistant. She just sits here and naps the whole time. She's cute though, isn't she? Penny. She's mad at me. She just had to go to the vet and get shots. So she won't look at me. But she still has to help me, so. Good girl. Okay, belly rubs. Hi. Say bye.